Hello everyone. I'm working on a 17 Ford Explorer, has 78,000 miles on it. It's got a pretty heavy oil leak from the engine front cover. This has the 2.3 liter EcoBoost. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the procedure, how to get that cover off and reseal it. This job is not the easiest of jobs. There's a lot of ways that these can be messed up. All the timing components, it's a friction fit. Ford did not put like Woodruff keys or dowels, so everything's held by friction. So this in my opinion makes the job a lot harder to do, and I've seen people really mess these up bad. So I've already got the charge air tubes off, the fuel line, purge valve, and the wiring harness out of the way. So this video will start off by pulling the valve cover out of here. And if you spend time on it and work it off, you won't crack it. And we'll go ahead and clean up the cylinder head flange, get the oil and dust, sand, gravel off of everything. Being careful not to push anything inside of the engine. We'll go ahead and vacuum this front area. And I'm going to go ahead and get the silicone removed from the backs of both camshafts. Go ahead and pull that intake cam cap. And then pull the vacuum pump drive adapter. We'll use a wrench on the camshaft as a counter. We don't want anything turning. Next is to remove the belt. The AC belt on this one is a stretch fit belt, so it does not have a tensioner. Just using my stretch belt remover and installer. I'll pull the belt off. Then we're going to remove the back plug. I think they're calling that a plug bolt, the back of the block. And then we're going to insert the timing peg, which is 303/507. We're going to screw that in. I'm going to snug it up with some pliers. Then we'll rotate the crankshaft over TDC number 1 until it hits that plug bolt, and it'll stop. And there's a little hole in the timing or in the harmonic balancer, and that will line up with the front cover. Next, I'll put the camshaft alignment tool. They're calling this a 303/1565. I'm going to go ahead and clamp it on the cylinder head. And then for good measure, I'm going to mark the intake VCT to the camshaft, just so I can see if anything's moved. And you can see here, here's Ford's remover, or it's a crank damper holding tool, 303/1689. And it's really clunky, and it wants to kind of just spin out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and use a strap wrench or a chain wrench and hold the balancer while I loosen up the bolt. And this bolt is on tight. And when you remove this, you do not want this crankshaft moving counterclockwise. You want to apply a little bit of tension with that chain wrench onto that timing peg. Once you get the bolt loosened up, remove it, and then spin the balancer clockwise. You can see here it's not keyed, just all a sandwich fit, a friction fit. So I'll put a floor jack underneath the oil pan. We'll pull this front engine mount, get it out of the way. We'll also pull the bracket, gives you a little bit extra room. and then start removing the front cover bolts. There's a bunch of them. You can see up there, there's a pretty good size oil leak. And then there's 3 larger bolts in the top of this. We'll remove those. I'm going to pry the front cover from the block. We'll do it on the bottom. Work the front cover loose and pull it out. You'll be able to see there's a shiny spot in this upper back section where they always leak. They always leak in the same area right there. Right where the cylinder head meets the engine block. So we'll go ahead and throw this in the parts washer, put a new front crank seal on it. You can see up there also is where it leaks, right above the chain tensioner where the cylinder head mates to the block. So get everything cleaned up. It's a big pain in the butt. There's not a lot of room to work in there. Get the front cover cleaned up. And what I'm applying here is TA357 Motorcraft sealant. I believe the original sealant they called for is TA30, but it's been cross-referenced to TA357. And you want to run a bead on the inside of all the bolt holes. You don't need to go around the edge of the bolt holes. It doesn't make any difference. And I've also got a new front oil seal, and it's already installed here. So we get the sealant on there, and they say I think 5 minutes roughly to get it stuck onto the block. Now I'm going to have an assistant down below, and he's going to guide it on while I work the top, because it's really tough doing it by yourself. So we get that aligned, stuck on there. Install a couple bolts. Install the lower bolts, snug up the top 3 larger bolts, put the remainder of the bolts in the smaller bolts in the front cover, and there's 3 bolts in the upper back that have studs on them. The upper top 3 have studs, all the rest are just a standard bolt. So we'll go ahead and snug these up. And these smaller bolts are 89 inch-pounds, and the large 3 bolts are 35 foot-pounds. So now you can see the hole there. I'm installing a 6mm bolt through the balancer into the timing cover. And that aligns it for the time it. And then we're putting a brand new bolt, our harmonic balancer bolt, because this one's going to stretch slightly. And we're going to torque this down. I believe it's 75 foot-pounds initial torque. And we do not want this to spin counterclockwise, but I'm using the chain wrench so I'm not applying all the force on that timing peg. I'm going to go ahead and mark this with the paint pen. I have angle mode on my torque wrench, but I think it's just more accurate to mark it. And then we're going to tighten this an additional 180 degrees. And it is tight. It's tough to do with one person, but with the chain wrench you can do it. And then I go back up top, make sure my marks are lined up, and then pull the camshaft alignment tool 303 1565. Install the vacuum pump drive adapter, torque that to 46 foot-pounds. Also use a counter hold with the wrench on the camshaft. You do not want anything turning. Install the front engine bracket and mount. Remove the floor jack. I'm going to apply some flange sealant on this intake, what do they call this, intake camshaft cap. And we're going to tighten that down to 142 inch-pounds. Apply some seal glide to the VCT solenoid seals. I'm going to apply some TA357 on both the back, the intake and exhaust caps, and then on the flange where the timing cover meets the cylinder head. Install new valve cover gaskets. Reinstall the valve cover. Tighten all the bolts down. These are tightened down to 89 inch-pounds. I start in the center and work my way out. There you have it. This one, we can go ahead and put all the accessories, pipes, and wiring back on it. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next video.